Today, I'm going to show you how to use Flask, one of the most popular and powerful Python web frameworks. So you might be wondering, what on earth is Flask? So Flask is a lightweight and easy-to-use framework that lets you create web applications quickly and easily. You don't need any complex configuration or dependencies, just a few lines of code and a virtual environment. You can also customize and extend Flask with many extensions that add new features and functionality. But why use Flask? What makes it so special? Well, there are many reasons, but you would want to use Flask because it is simple and intuitive, flexible and extensible. So how do we get started with Flask? Well, it's very easy. We'll first ensure we have it installed using pip or pip3, depending on your Python version. If it's not already installed, run pip install Flask. Once Flask is ready, we're all set to create our new web project. Begin by creating a fresh project directory, perhaps call it myapp with mkdir myapp, and navigate into it using cd myapp. In my case, I have a directory here named Flask Backend Tutorial. To keep our project tidy, let's set up a virtual environment. You can do this with Python 3mvenv command, and then activate it based on your operating system. I have shared the commands to activate the environment in the description below. Now create the heart of your application by making a Python file, typically named app.py, with touchapp.py. Open app.py in your favorite text editor, and there you can start crafting your Flask application. So in the app.py, we begin by importing the necessary modules from Flask, including Flask for creating our web application and JSONify for handling JSON responses. We then create an instance of our Flask application with app equals Flask __name __, which sets up the foundation for our web service. In Python, the __name ___ variable is a special built-in variable that provides information about how a Python script is being executed. It is a fundamental part of Python scripts and is commonly used in various scenarios, including Flask applications. Next, we define a root using app.root. The app.root is a Python decorator used in Flask to associate a URL with a Python function, view function, in your web application. This means that when someone accesses the root URL of our web application, which is typically localhost 5000 when running locally, the function send will be executed. Within the send function, we craft our response. In this case, we're returning a JSON response containing a message: your data is sent. Finally, we check if the script is being run directly using the if __name ___ condition. This condition is a common Python construct that checks if the Python script is being run directly as the main program, or if it is being imported as a module into another script. If it is, we start our Flask application by calling app.run, making our web service accessible. So, we now have a basic Flask application up and running, providing us with a solid foundation for back-end development. We are going to use the Flask run command to run the app, and once it runs, we should be able to see the URL it's running on. One essential aspect of the development process is testing, and we can perform this testing using tools like Postman, which allows us to send HTTP requests to our endpoints and verify that our application responds as expected. To begin testing, we first access our Flask application through the URL provided in the Flask run output. Open Postman and create a new request. Set the request type to GET and enter the same URL as the request URL. When you send the request, Postman will make a GET request to our Flask app's root URL. After sending the request, you should see the response from our Flask app within Postman. There is one last thing I would like to introduce before we conclude this tutorial. Let's take a look at dynamic roots in Flask. Dynamic roots allow us to capture variable values from the URL and use them in our view functions. Let's do a quick example on how this can be done. In our updated Flask app file, we are adding a new root at app.root, user less than username greater than. Notice the less than username greater than part. This signifies a dynamic segment in the URL. It means that whatever value is provided in the URL after user will be captured as the username parameter in our view function. Show _user username. When a user accesses a URL like localhost 5000 user Ebenezer 7, Flask captures the value Ebenezer 7 and passes it as the username parameter to our view function. As a response, our Flask app returns the JSON response. So you can see here that this root function takes username as a parameter, of which its value is retrieved from the URL. The return object is the data that we will send to our client. To test this dynamic route using Postman, open Postman and create a new request. Set the request type to GET. Enter the URL with a username parameter, such as http://127.0.0.1 5000 user Ebenezer 7. Send the request. Postman will make a GET request to our Flask app's dynamic route, and you'll receive a JSON response containing the provided username. Alright guys, there you have it. We have come to the end of this tutorial. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section. And don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this tutorial. Until next time, bye bye.